so they showed up and I felt all this energy and I felt all this love. It felt so good in that space. And I didn't quite know what was happening. I just knew that they were like with me, and it was like this connection, and I could see this thread of connection that they were showing me. And it felt so good. And it surprised me. And I remember like, I'm probably always going to get emotional about it, because I went from thinking, you know, how unloved I was to, oh, wait, I think they love me, you know?
We'll make it out and fall in love tonight.
It's the Steph Craig Show.
Here we go. Let's do it.
I don't know why we're so incredibly awkward starting these things.
It's because we now do lives.
That is true.
There it is. And we moved the cameras. I didn't know where to look. I was like, where is it?
It's over here. It's over there. Anyways, we really, really love being, oh, wait a minute. Where is the camera for the podcast?
It's just allowing the adjust to the new, even though it's just a minor new. It's
May. It's the month of May.
It's gonna be May.
Baby, you broke me before we got started.
I have some throat coat tea. Would you like a drink?
Okay. It's the month of May, and it is the 1-year anniversary of the Steph and Craig Show. How cool is that?
It's really cool.
It's so cool, isn't it? It snuck up on us like we didn't even remember it, really. Because technically we released the first episode May 1st last year in 2024. And we're recording this on a different day than it's coming out, but that doesn't really matter. It's still in May. But the May 1st, when it was technically the 1-year anniversary, neither of us remembered. It was like 9 o'clock at night, and I got home from jujitsu and I was in the shower, and I'm like, oh, I think we started the podcast a year ago. And here we are 1 year later. Yeah. What has been the most significant thing in your mind, the difference? Because we obviously had Energy is Love that we did for years and years and years, like 380 plus episodes. By the way, you can still go watch that podcast on our YouTube channel, Steph and Craig over on YouTube. Subscribe if you haven't already. You can, I think it's 383 or 85 episodes of Energy is Love are available there. However, we did that podcast for several years. The universe said, hey, it's time to set that thing down, and it's time to build a studio in your house and do this whole 9 yards here. And then that gave birth to the Steph and Craig Show. 1 year later, what have you experienced as far as like you didn't expect it when it came to doing the podcast?
Expect it.
Because we had been podcasting for so long, but what about this one has been different for you and that was unexpected?
That's a great question. I don't know if I can just wing that one. I feel like that one's going to take some thought.
You want to ruminate and I'll answer?
Well, yeah, sure.
Or were you almost there? Did you understand?
I was going to say, I don't know that it quite, the thing that's standing out to me the most, it might not be the thing that was maybe it is, maybe this answers it, is it was just, I was really scared to let go of Energy is Love. I was really scared to move on. And it kind of was odd. It's like, well, we're already podcasting. It's a whole transition. It's a new podcast. And my brain was like, it's okay. Stay comfortable. Stay here. You know, it doesn't make sense. And we've already been doing this so long, and we don't want to, let all that go. And we've already got all this momentum, and then we're starting new, something that felt more aligned, or at least at the time, it felt like something that was really taking us to where we are going, where we're going together, where we're going as a podcast. Yeah. And it really, it was another lesson, or another, not even a lesson, another gift in how okay it is, and how healthy it is, and how exciting it can be, and how freeing it can be to start over, to recreate yourself, to allow things that have been really good their time. It's okay when it's not like, we're really hard. Like, you don't want things to end, we really hold on, and it doesn't mean that,
we cling a little.
It's okay to lovingly let things go and start over. And you can always start something new. You don't have to ride the same ride over and over and over again. Yeah. And it's okay to ride the same ride over and over again. You like that ride? Why, if you really like something and it's really working for you, you don't have to be like, well, it's been 7 years, I guess I need to get a new ride. You don't. If it's working for you and it's really like fueling you and doing like the relationship is healthy, you keep going. So it's not you have to change, but it's really, really strong in it's okay to start over. It's just really okay to start over. It's okay to allow something new to happen. And the truth
it's almost
is,
not even starting over, kind of, right?
Right? Because it's still us. The truth is like, it's still us. We gave it a fresh start. We allowed it to be different. It still feels like a really big reinventing yourself. And when we let go, now we have all of this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, look how much space we created once we let go of what was and allowed what was to be what is.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we'll do it again and again and again.
I know, right? That's the part that I get really both scared and excited for, is the idea that, oh, this will evolve into something else. And this is going to take us to the next thing, and then to the next thing, and to the next thing. And that was definitely like one of the really, really big lessons that I think I took away from the whole experience of setting down the other podcast and starting this one was, because it was truthfully, and I know we've talked about it on the podcast before, it's been a while, but it was like this whole experience of trusting in the universe, believing that what was coming up was, because literally, now that I really pause and reflect about this, babe, and I honestly give myself the opportunity to think about it, the way that I'm moving through life today is almost like the beginning of this podcast was the jumping off point for it in some sense, right? Because we moved to Tennessee, which was a massive leap of faith, a massive thing of like trusting that pull, trusting the intuition, trusting that the universe was not only going to like quote unquote provide, but the information coming from the universe, the little signs and the subtle like cues of like, go this way, go this way, go this way. We trusted those. And the podcast was the same thing. And it was really, really scary, and it was really, really hard. And I mean, it's paid off. Like, it's paid off 100%. Do you know what I mean? It was such a worthwhile thing to trust, because this has given us not just a new podcast, not just like a studio in our house, all these kind of different things. But I think about the trajectory of where we're at today versus a year ago when we started the podcast, and all the growth that we've experienced and gone through. And like, I mean, it's just insane to think about how different life is versus, I got a kick out of how Facebook shares those memories, right?
Yeah.
And there was that one that was 5 years ago, almost to the day, like it was April 30th or something like that, was April 30th, I think 2020. And that was the first time that we did a video version of Energy is Love, because that originally was just all audio for a long, long time. And then we started doing video podcasts in conjunction with it. And so that was like 5 years ago. And even that transition and that evolution to see where we're at today versus 5 years ago, because that was funny, like seeing that picture again and remembering that moment and sitting out in our backyard in Utah and having like the camera set up on the freaking, because it was just a cell phone.
Cell phone, yeah.
Baking in the sun while we were hanging out in the shade. And
we had to use yours because you were the only like cell phone that wasn't overloaded with pictures and memory. Like, we had one option.
Storage space to do anything other than crash and break down. Yeah. So it's been neat. I think it's been really, really cool. I'm excited to see where we'll be next year. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I'm hoping, I shouldn't say I'm assuming or planning, because who knows, right? But I'm pretty sure that this podcast will be around next year as well. I know that like since then, obviously there's Brave Men Dare that's come from this in some extent, right? I don't think that would have.
Not in some extent.
Well, no, but I don't think that would have happened had we not done all of this. I don't think I would have gone through the process of being like, oh yeah, it'd be a great idea to start another podcast, because there was something about having this entire setup with all the cameras and the lights and all the editing and all the stuff that we do. It's very, very cool to be able to take that and just paint something else with it. And that's been really, really neat to see how it grows and all that kind of stuff. And again, we're growing into, like, we're evolving again. Right. We're transitioning and growing into something new and something exciting, even more so, which I think is really, really cool. It's an active thing that we're in. Yeah. Like, our life is no longer same old year after year after year. I don't think anybody's life is. Do you think?
I do.
It just feels like it, maybe.
Yeah.
Or do you think it really is?
I mean, I, I, I guess it can't be 100% because even if you're not changing, people around you are.
Mm-hmm.
So there's going to be differences because nobody stays the same 100% of the time. And like there's little shifts, but I think there is definitely a lot less movement and a lot like less change from one life to the next. Some people do really big things and reinvent, and some people, and it's not better or worse, just like it's that thing. If you find what's working for you, keep doing it.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to change. You can keep doing what's working for you. So I just think it's different for everybody, and it's a perspective thing too.
Right.
You know, what we look at somebody and think, well, their life isn't changing, and then in their eyes, they're like, all of this is completely different.
Mm-hmm.
But our perspective, our judgment says it's this. So yeah, I think everybody actually rechange that. I think everybody is always changing on grand levels, and it's just not always like visible or presentable, or I don't know. Not everybody else can see it.
Yeah. It's not always seeable by everybody.
Yeah. I can't find the word either. I'm like, what is the word? I can't find it.
It's not always view, see, sensible. View. That's a tough word.
Right? It's a tough word. It's also not anybody else's business. You know, nobody else has to see it for it to be valuable. And wow, words aren't going to come today. For it to be validated by anyone, like, what's the word? It doesn't, nobody else has to recognize it for it to be justifiable and real for you.
Yeah.
Whatever, words.
Yeah.
Jeez, I need subtitles, but ahead of time to help me with the words.
There you go.
Like maybe if we had those like glasses and like, what am I trying to say? And like, and I'm like, can I pronounce it though? And your piece that sounds it out.
I'll just stick with seeable.
Right? It's seeable.
For the seeable future.
Seeable.
So excited. I'm excited today because we're going to be talking about the new evolution and growth of Stephanie and what she's been transitioning and moving into for quite a while now. Truthfully, like Prism Light Weaving is something that was, I mean, you're going to tell the story of like how it came to you and all that kind of stuff. But I think back to the beginning of our relationship where I was thinking about this actually today, where you and me have been on a spiritual journey, a spiritual path of growth and enlightenment and all those kind of different things. I mean, since we met in a conscious way, I think, at least, right? I mean, I believe that we've all are, I mean, the life itself, like not the life, but life itself is a spiritual journey, right? We're all experiencing these amazing things. However, like in a conscious way, rather than just the subconscious way that it happens naturally, that's been happening for us since we met. So we're coming up on like 13, 14 years of navigating this and coming to this place and ups and downs and ins and outs and all those kind of different things. And so Steph is launching a brand new, it's not a product, like a brand new, what would you say?
It's a new modality.
A new energy modality, but like
modality.
It's a new offering that you're sharing now. It's a new opportunity for people to work with you. All of these things are now out, available and everything. Yeah. And so where would you like to start when it comes to the story of Prism Light Weaving and kind of what it means to you, how it came to you, your journey with it? I think it would just be really fascinating to that's kind of my thought was like, we should do a whole episode just getting the opportunity to really talk about it and be as, genuine and real and upfront and honest about it, because who the fuck cares? We don't need to hide anymore anything, right?
Definitely not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited too. The really
we used to hide stuff all the time,
right?
I mean, not like hide, but we used to be like, oh yeah, we kind of do energy stuff, and we've kind of got these other things that are going on, but they were parts of our personality and our life and our relationship that we didn't talk a whole bunch about.
Yeah. So there's a lot of wound and fear and trying to feel safe in that space. Safe to be seen is a big one. Feeling safe to be seen is something that a lot of people struggle with.
Yeah.
And even sometimes those people that seem like they don't have any fear around being seen, that's part of it. There's this whole other side. I think a lot of us can really relate at least some point in our lives with being afraid to be seen. And
Today's episode of the podcast is brought to you by Routine.
We've been on the hunt for an electrolyte powder that we can add to our water every day, and we're excited to say we found it.
Morning Routine is a special blend of organic lemon, apple cider vinegar, Himalayan sea salt, and all the other essential electrolytes that you need for your day. It's non-GMO, organic, dairy and gluten-free,
soy-free, sugar-free, keto-friendly, 100% vegan, and made in the USA. And one of my favorite things about Routine is that it doesn't contain any synthetic dyes or preservatives.
You simply add water, shake it up, and enjoy the nutrients that your body needs for the day. We've been enjoying Routine for a while now and can't wait to share it with you.
Right now, listeners of the podcast can save 10% off anything at Routine. Head over to yourroutine.com/Steph and Craig and be sure to enter promo code Steph and Craig at checkout to save you your 10%.
Start your day off the right way with Morning Routine. Your body will thank you.
So we're there, right?
Yeah.
We're there and we get to, it doesn't mean that you're not afraid to be seen either. When you start doing it, it means you're doing it anyway. You're afraid, but you're doing it anyway. And maybe at some point you stop being afraid. Maybe at some point it stops being scary and it gets to be natural. And then something else will come along and you're like, well, I can say that, but I'm not saying that. I'm not showing that part. And then you get to do it all over again.
Yeah.
And you get to go with that space and, okay, it's really scary, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to step into this space. And like the universe has you along the way, even if it feels like you fall on your ass. Sometimes, we're there. It's just a step. It's just a process. I believe that the universe has got you, and that even when it doesn't look like things are going your way, you might not ever see it. You might see it a year from now. You might see it next week. You might see it in the moment and be like, okay. But it's just being open to that, being open to the possibility of being seen, of not having to be perfect, of not having to get it right, not having to resonate with everyone. Not everyone's going to jive with you, and it's okay. You get to be you and do your thing and just really show up for yourself and be scared as much as you need to along the way and just keep going.
Yeah.
So I think about when we first started talking about this, I teased it, was trying to be brave. Because this thing it did, and I will go tell the story, but it's just kind of interesting to reflect back and look when I first talked about it here, how scared I was and how difficult it was for me to get into that space and say these things. I think I spoke really fast and was like so afraid if somebody's going to listen, and then would hear when somebody listened and like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I really knew that. It was just really hard and scary.
Yeah.
And the story that I had of how it came to be at that point has already evolved. And it's not because anything has changed about how it came into my space. It's because I'm this far along in the journey now, and I can connect more dots backward, and I'm putting more pieces together that I didn't have at the time. So I'm watching the journey continue to unfold as how Prism Light Weaving came into my space with pieces that I didn't have then that I have now. And I think that's going to continue happening.
Yeah, probably.
It just keeps evolving. And it doesn't always mean that it's an evolution, forward. It doesn't, it's just an evolution. The balloon gets bigger, the sphere gets bigger, the energy gets bigger. It's not always just a direct line of
It's
evolution,
never direct,
right? We have that.
It's always an unfolding
right?
and a blossoming and a
flower balloon
circle. Yeah.
And so that's what this has been, which is really cool. It started, or at least at this point when I have the awareness of it, for me in my space, in, throwback to first social media, right? In my space, it's
like MySpace?
No.
Are you talking? Okay.
I just heard it. And so I went with it.
It was like, what was that, 2006?
Right. So on MySpace, when I had the music playing, the songs that were my emotions, you got onto MySpace profile and heard whatever music I was feeling. Do you remember that?
Did you have a MySpace?
I did.
Yeah, I think I did too.
Yeah.
I don't remember much about it because, I think that's such an interesting time period. It would be funny to go back, and I wonder if they're still, like, you can still find them in some capacity, if they're still somewhere on some database or some server somewhere.
Yeah, I don't know that I deleted it, if that was a thing. I just
I think it just went away. I think
Maybe.
MySpace just went away.
I don't know. It just,
I don't think we went and deactivated the account.
Right. It's like Facebook came on, and
yeah.
I remember when I started getting notifications like so-and-so has joined Facebook. And I'm like, what is that? No.
Yeah.
And here we are, right? It grew more than I expected. It's really cool. Now we have this, like, how many different social media platforms, and which we're super grateful for. Anyways.
Sometimes.
Right. So it started with me. It started when I was a massage therapist. Well, I still am. I'm just not practicing anymore. So I was doing massage in Utah. I'm going to get nervous. One of the things that I do is I over detail. I over explain. So what was it the other day? It wasn't the other day. We had friends over. We met for the first time. And it was like getting to know each other and tell us about yourself. And you're like, start from the beginning. Like you were born. And I'm like, I was born.
Stephanie's so like, the year was 1980.
Right? I totally was like, okay, start from the beginning. Here we go. I learned to walk. So I'm going to try not to do that too much because, you know, we're not filling out statements here.
Detail's great.
I am nervous.
Yeah.
I'm talking fast. My throat goat tea is cooling. My throat coat. I just need to slow down for a minute. Pause for emotional regulation.
Throat goat tea. We've been drinking tons of tea lately because we quit caffeine at the beginning of April. So we just crossed over the 1 year mark. I'm sorry, not that. It's going to be a year. It's going to be a year soon, but the 1 month mark for no caffeine. And they, like, people are like, oh, there's caffeine in tea. I'm like, not the tea that we drink. Like, we obviously don't drink. We didn't say we quit drinking caffeine and then just drink it in tea form. Like, we're drinking non-caffeinated tea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm becoming quite the tea connoisseur.
You are. It's so fun.
I actually really enjoy it.
I love the tea buddy.
Yeah, a tea buddy.
My tea buddy. It's tea time. Tea buddy.
So back when you were a massage therapist, you started going to massage school after quitting dispatch.
Yes.
Because it was your lifelong, I don't know if it was necessarily your dream, but same thing. You felt very pulled, right? You felt very much like a call inside that was like, hey, it's time to do something different. And you really want to do this thing. So then.
Well, I guess, you know, that's kind of neat how we go into that. So when I was younger, like energy scenes, we have all this stuff. But when I was younger, I was really good at giving massages, like shoulder rubs, head massages. That was weird. That was my thing. I would like my family knew that. And it was like, oh, your shoulders hurt. Steph's good at giving you massages. So young. And then it just kind of always was there. I remember being at a house party as a teenager, drunk, and they're like, can I get a head massage? I was like, sure. That was just something that I did that was there. And I thought about going to massage school years before I met you.
Really?
And there was, I was looking into one of the programs. I can't remember the name of the school now, but every time we drove by it, it was like a school that had a massage program, not a massage school. And every time we drove by it, I felt like reminiscence and like, if only. But I was like, I can give massages, but part of the curriculum, easy to say, is that with other students in the class, you go back and forth. You practice on them and they practice on you.
Yeah.
And I was like, they practice on me? Well, not doing that.
I remember like
absolutely not.
Like when you were looking into it and like that was a thing, I totally thought, I'm like, she ain't gonna go to massage school. Like, she wants to go, but I know my wife and she ain't gonna go to massage school if that's gonna be the way that it's gonna be. She's fine, like, yeah, I'll give you a massage, but the last thing I'm gonna do. So I was actually really surprised that you did it like, I mean, you didn't even, the way that I remember, at least, I know that it was a hard thing for you and all those kind of things.
Yeah.
But it was like that hold up, it seemed like you just blew right past it. You didn't even care. In a sense, you're like, yep, that sucks. I'm going to have to figure that out. And you just kept going at it. So I thought that was really cool.
Thank you. Yeah. So that was like the back burner. And then we started with our spiritual awakening, learning energy modalities, practicing energy modalities. And I really wanted to do that. I really wanted to do that. I wanted that to be something that that's what we did for a living. That's how I was helping people. I was in this space. I felt so called to it, but I also felt there was a lot of work that I had to get through with that. So it was something that I didn't feel I could say that I offered, I didn't feel I didn't have trust in myself. I didn't have confidence. I didn't have trust in the connection. I didn't feel like I was worthy enough. I didn't feel like I'd practiced long enough. I didn't feel like I was old enough, all of these ways. I'm like, I'm just too young, too inexperienced, all the twos of why I couldn't. And that's what I felt. And then I started thinking about massage. I started thinking about it. And then it was like, well, if I did that, then I could be giving massages and energy work. I could do it both. It would have the space, but it was still like, how am I ever going to do that? I can never work with that. My schedule, there was, it was just a thought that reoccurred every time we drove by the school that had the program way back when. So it was always like, here it is, that little seed that was trying to bust out.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that it came up, again, it was just like this. I've told this a million times, so I'll be brief. It was basically a mental breakdown on the shower floor where I just had it. I was on the floor, and it was just enough is enough. And I stood up and knew that I was going to quit my job, quit dispatch, go to massage school. It was changing my life. I was taking control of it. This didn't work anymore. And I could not live with it anymore. I couldn't go on with it. This wasn't an option. So I was done.
Yeah.
And as soon as I was done, then I was done. So I looked up the school. The very first school I saw was the one that I went to. I did look, but I was directed to the school that I was supposed to go to. And I remember filling out the application and putting in my notice.
Yeah, your 2 weeks
before I got accepted to the school, because I just knew.
Yeah,
I just knew. I knew it was happening. I didn't know if I was, they only had this much, this many spots available for this cohort, this session that's starting up, but I just knew, and I trusted, and I went with it. And that was such a liberating experience. So the thought too is like, okay, now it's safe to say I'm a massage therapist more than it is to say I'm an energy practitioner. I do this or whatever it is. And then once, we're doing massage, I also offer this. It felt like it was safe to say, and just not only. So they combined beautifully. Massage work, somatic work, energy work. I don't know. It's really, really like, how can you not, notice the energy when you're physically with somebody?
Yeah. I think it's just an innate part of it, right?
Yeah. I think it really is too. And even if you're completely medical, sports massage, you're just you're going like
would that be the left
like the
side
physiology,
or the right brain, like whatever.
The left, right?
Yeah. The analytical side of it all.
You still, yes, you can feel the muscles. Yes, you have knowledge of anatomy. Yes, you understand how the body works. Yes, you have all of the education with it. And there's more. You're still tapping into something, even if you don't have awareness of it. You're still knowing how to move them. You have the range of motion. What degree is the range of motion? You have this, and you're watching the way that they move. So there's so much more that even if you don't believe you're doing it intuitively, there's intuitive practices with it where you are connecting into. And I believe that 100%.
Yeah.
Is it certain? Who knows? But I believe it. So that's what happened. Then I was coaching. I got really passionate about coaching women and the energy work that was coming. I kept collecting certificates, learning this modality and learning this modality. And the way I would describe it was all of these modalities work together. They all work together, and it's they're different ways to do so many of the different things. And so I thought you had to practice one, but I started seeing it like a wheel.
Okay.
Like a wheel. And it's like, here's Reiki, here's Theta, here, just like all of these things that come into this space where they complement each other. And being able to work with one means you can work with another is what I was thinking. I'm like, well, I can do every modality that came into this space. Felt like at the time, it was like, I don't know how to do this. I'm never going to learn how to do this. I have to follow it by the book, very left brain, very analytical. And once we started practicing it, it was like a remembrance, like, oh, that's what this is. It felt like the modalities were giving names to things. I'm like, oh, that's why I'm seeing this. This is okay. That's why my hands tingle. This is, so many things. It was like a remembrance. And that was really illuminating.
Yeah.
That was like there was so much trust that was happening in that space, and so much that would take place during massages. You said I could get into details. Would you like me to take a breath?
No, baby, not at all. Keep going.
So how this started is during a massage and working with energy, all of a sudden I had luminous threads that were around him.
Today's episode of the podcast is brought to you by Nutrotonic. I've been a big fan of Shilajit for a really long time, but I've really struggled to find a brand that prioritizes quality above all else. Most of what's out there is really low quality, diluted, and packed with unnatural fillers, but not Nutrotonic's Shilajit. Nutrotonic's Shilajit is a rare form of red Himalayan Shilajit. It's packed with all the essential minerals, fulvic acid, and nutrients that your body needs. Shilajit is going to help you boost your energy, your focus, and your overall health and well-being. Nutrotonic Shilajit is the real deal. It's sourced directly from the high-altitude regions of the Himalayas. Listeners of the Steph Craig Show can save 15% off of everything at Nutrotonic's website. Click the link in the description and be sure to use code Steph Craig to save that 15% off. Power up and fuel your body the way nature intended with Nutrotonic's Shilajit.
Yeah, I got nervous. I totally got nervous. So I could see these threads that were moving. That was like, you know how we have a concept when we talk about the aura, the energy body, what surrounds the body. And this was like this netting, this webbing that had different colors and different vibrations and different patterns. It was this thing that was around them. And I had never seen anything like it. I'd never heard anything like it. So it was like, what's that? You know, that is really cool. And I could feel like patterns and stories, and there was just like these energies that you could feel. One of the things that, if you're in this field, you've heard a lot about is like cord cutting and pulling energy out of the body, stagnant energy, which you move a lot of in massage, and bringing in, you know, relieving binds. And what this was so different. It was like an outside, like the energy field. And that's the things that that make up the energy field that holds all of it in this space. And it's what you let out. When we're pulling the cords out, do we get it all the way? Is it in this field? Is it what it's attracting back down? It is like the coding of what comes into this space. And I didn't have all of that then. You know, I'm just seeing this come, and I realized I could shift it. And I knew what I was shifting, and I knew what I was weaving, and I could see it pulling out, and I could see it like unraveling. Like you would take a cord, you know, when you get a sweater or a rug and you get that one, and it's like you pull and you think but it just keeps like unraveling. And it was doing that. And then when I could redesign it or bring in a new piece of thread that would come in, and it was just like, oh my goodness, it was so beautiful, and it surprised me, and I had no idea what it was. And I was calling it lace work at the beginning. It was like, because all I could think of was how the really fine threads on like those delicate doilies or something. And I'm like, it's like that, but it's not like pattern. It's like sporadic. There's different things in different parts. I'm like, it's like lace work. I didn't know what to call it.
So it just
that's
started
when I first...
happening kind of like I don't want to say necessary. I mean, obviously it's intuitive, but like out of nowhere, you can't really chalk up to like, you know, an explanation of this circumstance or this experience, or you just one day started seeing it on somebody.
I was doing energy work in this session, and I had a lot of that, but I don't like, if there's more, I'm sure there is, because I'll get into, it turns out it's actually a lineage, right? It's passed down. It's in my family. But I didn't have any awareness of that. That was the very first awareness that I had. And I don't remember what I was working on energetically with the person, because it was just like, what is this?
It just
you know,
up.
when you get that pattern interrupt, like in a dream, when all of a sudden you have awareness and you're like, home, you're like, here we are. It was this pattern interrupt. It was new. I hadn't seen it. It surprised me. It was beautiful. It was exciting. And it happened. And sometimes really unique, amazing things happen in sessions. That happens all the time.
Yeah.
So I didn't think it was going to come back. I thought it was...
You just thought it was like a cool thing that happened in this moment?
Yes. And then it kept happening, and it kept. And so then I started looking for it, and I could see it so fast. And it was like this thing that was here. And I'm like, you know, it was, oh my gosh, it was so exciting. It was so exciting. At that time, I didn't recognize it as a standalone because it was something that I did with massage. It was something that I did with other energy modalities. It was in the space. It was a combination.
Yeah.
So I didn't know what it looked like on its own. I didn't know if it was it on its own thing. I just knew it was something that was starting to come through that I hadn't seen, hadn't heard of, that nobody had talked about, that was new to me and new in the space. And it was fun and exciting. And I was noticing more shifts, and I was noticing people's reactions when I was moving the threads. And it was just something that was really exciting. And then COVID hit.
Dun, dun, dun.
Right. I stopped having clients for a while, and then I slowly started bringing them back. So the numbers definitely decreased.
Yeah.
And it's something that kept going. And then we had a family experience happen that I stopped massaging, and I just stopped massaging after that. I didn't really come back to it. And then we moved to Tennessee, where I didn't renew my license. So for a while, it stayed dormant.
During that time period, I'm wondering this because I don't know this part of it, but I'm curious if, 2020 happens and then, massage died off because for obvious reasons. And then after you stopped doing massage, did you ever have moments in between, because I know that Prism Light is one of those things too that you have experienced, since then in working with people in massage. But did you have moments where you were still accessing it and using it and it was showing up? Or was it kind of like something that just went dormant in a sense?
It went dormant for a while. It went dormant for quite a while. I wasn't doing energy work on myself. I wasn't doing it on anybody.
We were so heavily involved into that was during the time period too, where we were doing like super deep therapy work, which probably was a component of, why it is what it is today. I think there was still parts of you that had to be healed and processed and unpacked and all those kind of different things too. So maybe it was by design.
It came before that. It started showing up before that. But during that time, I think I had a lot of healing that I had to do before I could see it all the way. It came when it was supposed to. And one of the things that I was able to recognize. So I feel like I had this modality in me. I knew that there was this modality, and I was starting to see it. And I'm like, there's more to that as we got here. There's more to that. I'm curious what it does. And then I felt like I didn't get to fully explore that because I wasn't working with clients anymore. I wasn't doing weaving calls when we were coaching clients. We weren't doing that. Yeah. And so I'm like, there's more to that I didn't get to explore. And I knew I could feel that pull coming back in where I wanted to explore it. I knew this was supposed to come through. I knew it was supposed to come through, and I just didn't know what that looked like. I didn't know how I was going to do it. I just knew I had a passion building inside me of where it wanted to come out. And truthfully, it was probably it telling me like, I'm coming out, get ready. We're doing this, It's
happening, right?
Right. There was even a part where I came to peace with it not coming through me.
Okay.
I was starting to recognize what was happening with it and understood that even if I couldn't bring it out, that it was too big and it was too important, that it was going to go to somebody that could.
Yeah.
So I was able to completely let go of the responsibility that it was up to me, that it came out when I knew it was going to happen. And then I was like, and I'm really excited to practice this. I'm really excited to step into this space. And so as it was building, as it was coming up through, I had different practices that I would do. I have different ceremonies that I do in meditation. I have different physical ceremonies that I do. But one thing that I would always connect to was so many people work with flames, with sacred flames. There's so many healings out there with flames because they're so powerful.
Yeah, fire is a massive thing, right?
Fire is a massive, beautiful
One of the
thing.
elements.
They're so powerful. There's so much that it does. I worked with fire and water as barriers in massage. I was always having it like wrapped around. So it was protecting, it was transmuting, it was burning away, it was charging, it was revitalizing, it was bringing up the water, was the transference. It was, again, the same thing, washing away, bringing flow in, bringing energy. It was this barrier that I felt I could protect the clients with and myself with the energy. We were in this space. There was a firewall, there was a water wall. It was also walking out, right? Cleaning the energy as you walked in and walked out. You're not taking out with you, you're not taking in. So I had this element that was there. And at some point it also transferred and it turned into a prism flame around it. And so it was like the standard flame of prismatic colors that at times would change. Sometimes it would be red, sometimes it would be green, sometimes it would be purple, but it usually was that prismness that would just hold.
Did that just kind of show up as well? Kind of like the net did, the lace and the weaving? Did that just show up? Or was that something that you feel like you kind of co-created in a sense?
Yeah, I knew I was setting the space and I was setting a protection in the space.
Okay.
You know, there was this one time and it was when I was learning theta. It's when I was in the theta training. And I got to work with an amazing woman that I love and trust. Another amazing woman that I love and trust was doing the training, but they would bring in other practitioners that had already completed the certification that you would do a reading on.
Yeah.
And I was with a woman that was really incredible and we had a really strong bond. And when I was doing that session with her, it just felt like everybody was around and looking. And we went into this space and I got really quiet and it felt like fire shot up all around us to like encapsulate us, hold us. So we were in this ring of fire. We were in this Johnny Cash baby going that nobody else could see. And I just felt so safe in that moment. And we went in and then the reading, it was really profound for both of us. There was a lot of things that took place and it was really exciting. And I developed a lot of confidence in that space. And then she told me it felt like there was fire that went up all around us and had us protected. And I was like, okay. And so that's probably like that seed, right? That had in there when I knew I was creating space. So I had conscious that I was going to create space. We also were doing it in our home. I was creating space to not let energy that I was working with leak out in the house. I was very intentional about the space I created. And what it did would take on a life of its own. It would take on a life of its own and create. I wasn't thinking prism flame, this is what it's going to be. It's what showed up as, and I acknowledged it. So I intentionally set the space, but I didn't intentionally say, this is what it looks like. This is how it has to be. It did that. Does that make sense?
That makes so much sense. I think that is also like a really key thing to think about, not just in the scope of how you're talking about it in this moment, in the story that you're telling about it, but I think that when the universe and you get together to co-create and bring forth things into this reality and into this realm where we're, quite literally like manifesting things into reality, you have to have some semblance of like, you get to do a part of it and then you just have to let it go and see what happens, right? You have to allow for whatever it is supposed to look like, feel like, exist, and all those kind of different things. And so I love the way that you describe that, because I think it is really like, not just, like I said, in the scope of how you're telling the story and the experience and the energy work and Prism Light and everything like that, but it's also with almost anything that you create in life, right? You have to have that idea, and then you also have to be really open to letting it take shape and form as it needs to, because the thing is coming through you almost in a sense.
Yes, it is. Absolutely. I feel like I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit and I'm going to shorten this. Turns out I can talk about this for a really long time. There's a lot of details.
What do we got to shorten for, babe? Right? It's our freaking podcast.
You're gonna have a 4-hour
Nobody's gonna come
podcast.
in and be like, excuse me, it's time to wrap up. The studio is closing. No, this is our house. We could be here as long as we want.
You have an appointment.
We're fine.
You have another podcast tonight. Craig is a professional podcaster and he's got 3 today he's doing. So I gotta like stick to the topic. So that's when the Prism Flame started.
Okay.
And that continued with me. That was something that I really liked. That was something that I would sit with. Would
you use that a lot in your own personal space and your own personal ceremonial work
with
and
other
meditation
people?
and things?
Absolutely. Okay. It was just something that was so sacred with me. It was a protection, and then it was the space. I did a lot of, it's like scurrying. I never know how to pronounce that right, where you're staring into the flame, like you stare into the water or you stare into a crystal ball and you allow it to come up. And
is that what it's called?
It's like, I don't know how to pronounce
Scurrying. I think I know
skyring,
the word that you're talking about, right?
however.
I think we proved at the beginning of the podcast that we're not the greatest with words sometimes.
Right? So you know what I'm talking about if you know what I'm talking about. But I would stir in the flame and things happen, things come, and it would a lot of times turn to that. And also there, people show up in it. So much happens with the flame that is just, that was mine that I had complete awareness of. And when I say mine, I don't mean like that's my sacred prism flame and nobody else sees it. It belongs to me. That was my practice. That was a safe space for me. I believe that like that it didn't just come to me. Other people are going to be out there like, I see the prism flame. I see of course you do. Like it's a sacred flame. It's a sacred flame. It is, I see it. Other people see other things. And many, many people I know see that because it's too. Today's episode is brought to you by Woolly. Most fabrics today are packed with synthetic materials, microplastics that shed into the environment and your skin.
But not Woolly clothes. All of their apparel is made with natural merino wool. And the very first time I tried Woolly, I was hooked. I swapped out all of my boxers, not just because they're comfortable and feel good, but I'm also concerned about not leaching any of those harmful chemicals you know where. I mean, come on.
Craig loves his boxers, and let me tell you, I can't get enough of their panties either. They're so soft and comfortable, it almost feels like I'm not wearing any underwear at all.
Merino wool isn't just soft and comfortable. It's naturally moisture wicking, helps regulate your temperature naturally, and odor resistant. So with temperatures heating up this summer, it's time to go with some Woolly.
And right now, listeners of Steph and Craig get 15% off of everything at Woolly. Click the link in the description. Be sure to enter promo code Steph and Craig and save your 15% now.
Wear better, feel better with Woolly clothing.
It's not meant for one person. It's just not meant to. And I was talking to somebody else recently and it resonated with them. It was something that, there's little pings, there's little remembrances. And so it gets me really excited when people start to resonate and have little pings of awareness. And I'm like, you see it too. You see it too. Because it's also like you have these things that come up especially when you're working with worth, when you're creating something, it's like your own thing. It can't look like anybody else's. And if it looks like somebody else's, a lot of times you dismiss it.
Yeah.
Right. And then there's the other hand that if it's something that doesn't look like anybody else's, you think, well, I must be seeing it wrong, doing it wrong. That's like nobody else. So it can't be real. So you put yourself in this bind if you have worth issues or fear of being seen, where if you see it anywhere else, it was nothing that came through you. And if you don't see it anywhere else, it's not real. And so I would struggle with that. I was looking for resonance and like trying to be okay with not having it, because I was like, well, what if it's,
It's such a catch-22,
it's
right?
such a catch, right? And then that stopped. It stopped. I knew it was real. I knew it was something that I was seeing and working with, but I didn't know if I would bring it as its own to people or if it was something that I would just do in conjunction with names that are known and recognized and validated. It's like, oh, you practice Reiki. That's such a wide net.
Yeah.
That's such a safe thing. It's like, oh, actually I do this. Let me tell you about this. And like, well, I haven't heard of that, so it must not be real. So you get scared. And I thought I would just kind of do it with the other things. That's changed, obviously. So, okay, we were going to fast forward. Okay. So I work with the Prism Flame and then lace work. And then I started working I saw grandmothers coming in and started feeling grandma energy.
When you say you saw grandmothers coming in, are you talking about...
You want me to elaborate? I'm trying to speed it up here.
But like I said, we ain't got nowhere to go.
Okay.
I'm excited to hear all of this stuff. I mean, this is stuff that we've talked about, a lot, obviously, right? This has been in our space for years and years, and you've shared this along the way. But I think like having the opportunity to really sit down and ask you all of these questions and hear all of this really in depth, I'm excited.
Yeah.
I haven't heard this to... I don't want to say to the fullest extent, but it's like, yeah, you're just getting to share it so much. I'm just hearing it so much differently in this moment. And so I'm excited. So when you say grandmothers came through, are you talking about your grandmothers or just like grandmother energy? Like
my grandmother's.
Okay.
It was in a ceremony, and there's a ceremony that goes through. There's this place that I go to. There's so many different things, but in I wasn't expecting it, but in walked my mom's mom and my mom's moms. Or mom.
So grandma and
So
great
grandma
grandma
and great grandma came in. I could have just said that easy.
on your
right?
mom's side.
Yeah, on my mom's side. And it was just like, I was really excited. And I also had like apprehension. I was surprised to see them. I had it in my mind that they were unhappy with me, that they don't like my choices. They don't like the things that I've chosen. So it didn't occur to me that they would come to support me.
And sorry, that wasn't just in regards to like the energy work stuff.
Oh,
that
no.
was in regards to your life, like growing up and all those kind of things. You grew up
moving
with that
to
kind
Tennessee.
Of,
and like so much of it. Like, it's just like, they're obviously, my grandmas are very loving and supporting.
Yeah.
But I'm like, now that they're like, how could you have left? How could you have done this? So I didn't feel like I would have, I'm going to cry.
Grandma loves amazing.
I wasn't expecting, like, I didn't call on them. I didn't call on ancestors. I didn't call on, because I was so sure. I was such a disappointment. Like, I'm not going to ask for help when they hate me.
Yeah.
I have to. And, I also work a lot with trauma, ancestral trauma, like all the things that have happened.
Seriously? You've got some trauma?
And so I'm like, I don't like the way you did it, and I'm not going to do it that way. So of course, why would they help me? Why would they be there with me? They're like, came and said, that doesn't work for me. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do things really different. So I was really surprised. And it felt really good, but I was really surprised. I'm just going to bawl. Oh my goodness.
Was that the day that you did? Because it was like, correct me if I'm wrong, and if I'm telling a story of something that you don't want to get into, then we can obviously just shift gears. But was that the day that you did, like, everybody was gone, you had the house to yourself, and you did a bunch of work, and you were doing a bunch of ceremony? Was that the day you're talking about when they showed up?
No, I don't think so. I think I know what you're referencing to. And no, it was before that.
Okay.
So they showed up in this space. I still hadn't put the pieces all the way together yet. But I got more pieces with them showing up. So they showed up and I felt all this energy and I felt all this love. And it felt so good in that space. And I didn't quite know what was happening. I just knew that they were like with me. And it was like this connection. And I could see this thread of connection that they were showing me. And it felt so good. And it surprised me. And I remember, like, I'm probably always going to get emotional about it because I went from thinking, how unloved I was to, oh, wait, I think they love me, you know? So it was very, very profound. And then in a group that I was in, I heard somebody say, the webs we weave. And it was like, my great grandma's last name is Webb. And it was like, the webs we weave. And I was seeing like the weaving pattern of the weaving in them, like the webs we weave. It's weaving, it's web, like spider web. And then I heard about like grandmother spider, like all of these energies. And I was putting this places and I'm like, we're weaving. It's like it's like all, then I started. Before I remember, I said I didn't know what to call it. I didn't know. So I'm like, lace work?
Right.
Like it didn't make sense, but I didn't have anything to draw from.
Yeah.
There wasn't something that had done it before that gave me something to draw from. And so I'm like, it's weaving. And I was like tossing around like web craft and it's like web weaving. And it was just like all of a sudden it was so profound, so profound. And I've had this incredible phobia of spiders my whole life. And it has been for years I realize you can't kill spiders because that's like, you've got to take them outside, the best you can. And so I started years and years ago trying to catch them and get them outside. And that would come with like a very visceral reaction.
Yeah, over the years, it's been great. It's been so fun to watch you try to capture the tiniest of spiders to release them back out into the wild, aka our front yard.
I know at one point it was like freezing outside, and you're like, it's just gonna die now. And I was like, whoa.
It came into the house to
I
live.
know, and I'm like, I was saving it by not killing it.
Yes,
I could not coexist with it. So I had to get it out. And I was like, you have a chance. Find somebody else's house. Could not coexist. But it was like terrified. I've had nightmares about spiders since I was a kid. I have a reoccurring nightmare since I was a kid, which now makes sense. Yeah. I can piece it together. And so before that, we went to a Halloween trick or treat, and I bought big spider to go into the candy. So when the kids had to reach their hand and they had to reach through the spider. And I knew that I'm like, when somebody wants it, they can just have it. Like, I'll make somebody take it. Mm-hmm. And I started bonding with this toy spider. And towards the end of the night, a little kid who we know and I adore asked if she could have it. And I was like, sorry, honey. No, because I bonded. So I was having the spider energy come back in. The phobia is not all the way gone. I still struggle, but not all that much.
Yeah, you do pretty good with them.
Right?
It's definitely a lot different.
I even had the first experience where I had one on my leg and I allowed it to get on my finger. It was a baby. That's okay. Spider's a spider. I allowed it to get on my finger and I held it and I could move it to a rock. Like, never have I ever thought that was ever. So I've had this fear that has been lifted, and it's like allowing the space to come in. So I could even see it as a depth of, I was not ready. Was I ever going to be ready to channel this? Was I ever going to? So keeping like the spider fear, the web fear, the weaving fear, keeping it away. I never connected grandma web with like spider web. My brain was like, it's not the same word.
Yeah.
There's another B. It's not the same. It's, it's, it's plant table. It's not the same. It's completely different. And so that's where it started to like, oh my gosh, this is going to come through. And then had the awareness of like, I don't know what this looks like on its own. I don't know what it looks like when I'm not doing it with the other modalities that I've learned. I don't know what it looks like when I'm not doing it with a physical massage. Does it work if I'm not physically with the person? Do I have to be in their energy? It was like all of these things. I'm like, what does this actually look like? And so I had a really good friend who I was talking to about this, and I was getting ready to ask her if she would be willing to let me practice on her. And she was like, if you want to practice, like, yes, I do. And so I got to experience it over, and she's not here. So I knew what it looked like in person, but we got on video calls and I got to practice and experience it and allow it to shape. And what it came through when it was just that, everything else was out of the way. It's like finally it could take a breath. And it just was whoosh, like all of a sudden you could see everything. It was all of these connections. It was all of these interwoven connections that was coming through, what it was feeling like, what it was meaning. And then it was like, okay, we can do it on Zoom. We can do it here. What does it look like distant? Can we do it on the phone? What if I don't see you? So we did phone sessions. It was just so intense, so big, and it comes through just slightly differently. And we did a distance session. I'm like, okay. And I've done, distant Reiki, distant healing. I know how to do distance sessions, but I didn't know how it worked here. So we did a distance session, and it was like every time that it was like, what does this do? What does this look like? It just was blowing me away on how just how deep the connections were, how mystical the connections were, how magical the connections were, what was taking place, what I was feeling and experiencing and seeing happen in these sessions, and the feedback that I was getting, what they were seeing, what they were feeling, and then things that were happening in their life that was like, now this happened, now this happened, now this happened. And it was like, oh my God, just seeing the way that it was coming through. And it was just blowing me away.
Yeah.
And exciting me. And I'm bonding, we're building more and connecting more. And I'm still calling it like webcraft. What's this? It comes down to like, what are we going to name this? What are we feeling? Like, it's time. I need to put it out there. It was just this like, this is ready to come through. And it was almost like, how dare you not, and then I would have to go back to, if I can't do this, if this is too big for me, if I'm too scared, that's okay, because it's going to then go to somebody who can. So that was just always I would release it and know, I am like, it's not all or nothing. It doesn't have to be me.
Today's episode of the podcast is brought to you by Heritage Still. A few years back, after we learned all about the toxic chemicals in those nonstick pans, we decided to toss them out and go with 100% stainless steel cookware from Heritage Still.
Heritage Still uses high-quality, multi-clad stainless steel to give you unmatched durability, precision, and performance.
Their cookware is safe for any cooking surface. It's easy to clean, and every piece of cookware comes with a lifetime warranty. So whether you're a pro in the kitchen or just learning your way around, Heritage Still makes cooking easier, more precise, and more enjoyable.
Right now, listeners of the podcast can save 10% off anything at Heritage Still. Head over to heritagestill.us/Steph Craig and be sure to enter promo code Steph Craig at checkout to save 10%.
Invest in cookware that lasts a lifetime. Heritage Still, chef-grade cookware for less.
And it gets to be me who channels it. And so I start with looking at that. And before the name, I'm getting ahead a little bit. There was a moment that I did. So we've also been doing a lot of there's a lot of meditation, a lot of practicing with, I don't even know what I'm going to say here. I mean, I know what I'm going to say. I just don't know if I'm going to say it. I'm going to back up. So there was an experience that happened where I traveled energetically to my mom's house. And I was in Utah. And I was with her in this space, and it felt like I was in the room. And it was different than distant sessions, because it's like in these distant sessions, you have a connection. It's like this space isn't there. It's like you take two ends, like you take a rope or a bell, or so you just take a straight and you bend it and connect them. And so you're still like, there's still the space, but it's not, it's like it goes away. It's like you're there. You're here with them in the space. You're sharing that energy. Maybe it goes up and connects and comes down, but the distance just it goes away in that space. You're still here. They're still there, but the distance just like stops being distanced. Is that?
Yeah. That
might
makes
describe
sense.
it. But what happened here, it wasn't like the distance stopped being distance. It was like I was now here.
Yeah, it's like you actually went there.
Right. So if we had this that came up, and it's like I walked through, I was here. And it was just like, what is this? What is happening? And I saw my mom, and I started weaving on her. I started weaving in that space. I started helping her in that space. And she shot up, like not her physical, but it was like her energy body came out and saw me. And there was this moment that we connected, and there was like this hug. There was this love. We were there together, and she looked at her, and then she with me started weaving on herself. So I'm weaving on my mom. My mom's weaving on her, and I'm watching her do this. And I'm like, oh, like she can weave. She's a weaver. And this like opened so much. I'm like, this is like this is hereditary. And then I'm looking at, so after this happened, that's all we'll say about that one. But then I'm really going through and I'm looking, okay, my mom. So it's the maternal side. And it's like, okay, my mom crochets a lot. She worked with a lot of this. Is that like how? And then she got that from my grandma. My great grandma crocheted, my grandma, my nana sewed. So they all we all have these like working with threads coming down the system and how they would work. And then I was looking at the etymology or like the backtrack of like what web means. And web is weaver. And it was just like, and before I took it back to the grandma energy when they came and supported me and were showing me these threads. So it's like, this is in our lineage. Like this came down. And somehow I am the one that is bringing in it through like this. That gets to birth this. That gets to birth this. That gets to like have it come out. And now my mom, talking to her about it, she's seeing it. She's sending me things. She's like, this is weaving. She would describe things to me where it's now clicking in her brain or wherever you want to say. She's seeing it. She's feeling it because it's like, it didn't start with me. But I'm the one that got to see it and I'm the one that gets to bring it to the world. And that makes it even like more special, right? It's like gifts from my mom and my grandma, my great grandma, and on and on and on. Like, I don't like where it starts. So then let's get to the name, shall we? I'm going to tell them about the name.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to figure out what this name is. I'm like, is it Webcraft? Is it W-E-B Craft? Is it W-E-B-B? Because that's my great grandma's name. And I came across a name that I thought it was quantum weaving. And I'm like, I think that's it. And I looked it up and it was already taken by somebody in Tennessee.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh, we're close. But I still like, I know that like when you see it mirrored back, it's like when you want something and the universe starts showing you other people that have it around you, it's not that, oh, they have it, I can't. It's like, oh, you're almost there. You're almost on that wavelength. You're close. You're so close. So I knew I was close. And I was discouraged. Like, I don't know what to call this thing. I don't know what to call it. I was stuck on the name. And if I can't have a name, well, then I can't launch it. It doesn't have a name. Looks like I don't have to do it. But I wanted to so much. it's like the choice was already made. I just didn't know how to get there. I knew I was going to. I knew it was coming. I knew like I'm connecting. I'm seeing what it's doing. I know like there's no way I'm not doing this. And I'm scared. Both are true, right? My word for this year is courage. Doesn't mean you're not courageous because you're not afraid. You're courageous because it is scaring the shit out of you and you're doing it anyways. You're finding a way to do it. You're finding a different angle. You're doing something that you're getting there. You're doing it. You're pushing through. And you, amazing person that I adore, also have something really incredibly special. And you,
I mean, this isn't like a huge part of the story because it's a cool part. It is for me. It's a cool part of the story, but do you know what I mean? We can just tell it real quick. I don't mind sharing it at all. But this year was, and I've talked about this on the podcast not too long ago, but I had like a real big, massive, like spiritual experience right at the end of the year, right around New Year's Eve. And what are you pointing at?
I was telling you to get the camera on you for this part.
Pay attention, Stephanie.
This one's on you, babe.
And part of that, I mean, I don't want to, because we can do another episode down the road where I kind of shared this part of the whole big experience of what it's been like for me. But part of what that process looked like was recognizing that like I could go to bed at night with a question and then wake up in the morning with an answer. Like that's kind of a simple way to put it, even though there's much more to it in a sense, right? And it wasn't just, like truthfully, it wasn't even stuff for me. I was doing it for you a lot. I was practicing it with you and then practicing it with some friends, some different people that, you know, we feel comfortable with and safe with and that we know. And I mean, it's kind of just exactly that, where I would like go to bed, ask myself, you know, ask a question and an intention of like, hey, you know, this would be great. Do you have any information on this thing? What's the answer to this question? And then at some point in the middle of the night, I would get the answer to it. And it would come in that limbo period in between like sleep and awake, where it would be kind of the thing where suddenly I wouldn't be really all the way awake, I wasn't dreaming, but I also wasn't asleep. So I was kind of like, I mean, whatever we want to call that place, right? I've got different names for it. It doesn't really matter what we call it, but that's the place that I'm at. And people know what that place is. I think everybody can kind of experience that in some regards, right? Where you're like almost falling asleep. But anyways, I'm in that state. I ask a question, I get an answer, and then I wake up in the morning and I'm like, well, this is what I got. And you were struggling to come up with the name and trying to find what the name was and, you know, doing all the different things to try to figure it out. And I was just like, do you want me to ask? And you're like, yeah, that'd be great. And so I went to bed and I was like, I just asked the name, right? I'm like, what's the name for this thing? And in the middle of the night, because it's not, you know, it's like that 3, 4, 5, 6 o'clock window where I kind of wake up and I go pee and then I come back to bed. And it's kind of in the forefront of my mind because I set the intention for it before I went to bed. But then I just kind of like sit there and I start getting, I don't even know what we call it, ideas or words or thoughts, or, I mean, it's almost like I'm having a conversation with something. And I'm trying to remember exactly what it was because I had ideas for what it should be called. Do you know what I mean? Like part of me really liked like web work or web weaving or something, right? And because the web of it was such an important part, not just because of your grandma's, but like the you know, the webs, the spider webs, the whole nine yards. And so I'm laying there, and what was really interesting about that night and that experience, and what, I mean, because like I said, this has happened multiple times with a couple of different people and things like that, where the information that comes to me in that moment, it's really easy for me to know that it's like, oh, that's what it is, because it's not something that I thought of. It's not something that I was bringing to the table. It was whatever else is bringing it to the table. And it's like, no, this is what it is. And so suddenly like sliding across the table is like Prism Light Weaving. And I'm like, Prism Light Weaving? And they're like, yeah. And I'm all, cool, Prism Light Weaving. And then I just go back to bed and I just fall asleep. And I have to like tell myself before I go back to sleep, I'm like, don't forget, remember this. I'm like, that's pretty significant. I'm going to remember that. And I'm like, are you sure you're going to remember? I'm like, I'll remember that. And then I wake up in the morning and I can't remember how it went. I don't remember if I don't remember, like, I know I told you right off in the morning, but it wasn't like immediate. I think that day it was like you slept shitty, or like, obviously your sleep's kind of tumultuous right now with the whole perimenopause and everything else that's going on. So it's kind of like you might have woken up and had like a shitty morning. So I didn't want to drop it on you immediately, but then it like felt like the right time. And I'm like, hey, I got this thing. Do you want to hear it? And you're like, yeah. And so I told you Prism Light Weaving, and I had no idea, like you hadn't ever told me about the prism flame before. That wasn't something that I had ever like even heard that part of your experience with the whole process and everything like that. And so it was a really cool thing that kind of, you know, we got to share in, and I got to experience and kind of help in the process of this thing kind of coming through you, which was really, really neat.
It was really, really neat.
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, there was the prism flame was sacred. It was like my space. It was like I didn't share, you know, and I also didn't connect. I didn't connect them. It's like these things, these awarenesses. I didn't have.
You didn't see that the two things were
I didn't
connected
see
to
that the
each
two
other?
theme, even though we've got the color, you know what I mean? The
Yeah.
thread, the light, everything coming through, I didn't see. And when I was back in Utah a few months ago, I was sitting
back in Utah a few months ago, baby. We've been in Tennessee for 3 years.
Well, my dad passed and I was in Utah.
That's right. My bad.
Yeah, no, it's all good. I was sitting by his garage under the carport, and I looked up, and there was this spider web in the eaves, whatever,
Yeah,
you know,
in between the roof and the side of the garage.
And it was the post, and the sun was rising, and it was reflecting on the spider web. And for the first time, I saw a spider web illuminate. I've never seen it. And it was just like all the colors, and it was just going through, and it was like, I'm like, that's it. That's what it looks like. I'm seeing this. I'm seeing a physical manifestation of the energetic expression that I'm seeing. And I'm like, I don't even know what word to use. I'm just like, I'm in this like, you know, this moment of oh my, it's like, I don't even have the words. And I take out my phone and I know it's not going to capture it because, you can't capture with phone, and I can still see it on the screen, and I take pictures and I hit record and see it. And then I bring my phone down and I look at the video and the photos, and it captured it. And I'm like, proof, I got proof. It's like, I got proof. And so it was like, I had this, and I don't think I still didn't have it, even like seeing that, I still didn't have it. Even seeing these, I didn't connect them. My brain it wasn't ready.
Yeah.
I wasn't, it wasn't that space. And then you didn't even have that information. So when you said that, it was just like, and this whole space of just like, how did you connect dots that you didn't know? And that I had these dots, I had these puzzle pieces, I had them. And even I was like, it didn't even, like, here's this and here's this. Here's this and here's this. I didn't see. Now I see.
Yeah.
Now I work with the Prism Sacred Flame very intentionally in weaving. It's taken on a new space. It's taking on a different energy, a more powerful energy than I ever imagined. I'm like, I can't even imagine. I don't think it's possible for us to comprehend what this Prism Flame is and what it, like, maybe it's everything, maybe there's no way to comprehend it. And I love that.
Yeah.
I love that, so then when you had this name and it just came through, and it was like and then all of a sudden we get on, because the name that I thought it was taken, right? And so we get on and the name's available. Every social media is available. The .com's available. I'm like, boom, 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 boom. So we buy the website, we grab all the handles, and I'm like, this is it. I'm so excited. And then I kind of like, I don't, I'll take it. It's these things. And I've decided I'm really patient with myself.
That's good.
Because if I'm forcing myself, if I'm dragging, then how is that helpful?
Yeah.
So it comes as it's supposed to come. I'm not going to not do it because I'm afraid. I'm going to be afraid and do it anyways. And if I can't do it at that moment, then I can't do it at this moment. If I'm not ready for this next venture of it, if I'm struggling with posting content, which I mentioned all these handles, and if you happen to follow me, I'm not posting a lot of content yet, that's okay. That's okay. Is this beautiful thing is here, and I'm speaking about it, and I'm living it, and I'm sharing it, and I get to, like, I weave on myself all of the time, and it feels so good. And I'm still learning about it. And I think I'm still going to be learning about it
for years
in my life.
Oh yeah.
My life. It's like I have something come up, and it's like, I wonder if this'll help it. And I worked on my knee that had this thing come up, and that usually when my knee does this very special little sweet little trick, it does, it's messed up for a while, and it was gone the next morning. And that's just one component, right? I'm not saying that this is just what I experienced. And when I bring forth and I weave for something, I get results. When I work with others, so far what I've done, I get results. And every time it shows me something new. Every time it's like, what'll happen here? It shows me, it's like the more I work with it, the more it takes me. And it's like, here's a new thing. Haven't seen this before. It's always shifting and changing and growing and evolving. And the more I work with it, the more it evolves. And this is so beautiful. What it's already doing is amazing. And the more I work with it, it evolves. And I love, 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 love that. I love it so much. It's exciting. It's exciting. It's exciting, and it feels so good. And I'm so happy and excited to share it. I'm so excited that now I get to share it. It's not something that's just here or here or here or in this space. I get to share it with anybody who wants to be a part of it. Anybody who wants to experience it, reach, we have this, I get to share it. It gets to come out to the world. And I know where it's going to a point, right? Here I have it now. It might change, but I know how. I can see how much this is going to help. I can see other people learning, and I'm so excited to get to where I'm teaching people. I'm not teaching people yet. I feel like I still have a lot to learn, but there's going to come a time. There's going to come a time. And suddenly, too, another part of it that came is it made sense while the other modalities that I would pick up so quick, why that happened. And I'm like, oh, this is like a remembering. This is like a remembering. It's because I've had this in me. And so I was able to resonate with other things because I had this thing in me that I didn't know, that I couldn't see, that I didn't know that in it. And it's not me. So when I say I didn't know that I was capable of, it's like I didn't know that I could get out of the way enough. I didn't know that I had the ability to clear enough to let it come through, because it's not me. I'm not doing it. It's coming through me. It's a channel through me. It's the experience that I get to see and work with. And the person has to be open for it, right? And they're in their space. It's not, I'm not doing it for, it's the space that opens up to where they allow this, and it's their energy and and it comes through so many different ways. It has nothing to do with me, but I'm finally out of the way enough to do it.
It's so exciting, babe.
It's so exciting.
It's so awesome.
It's so exciting.
So Prism Light, it's Prism Light Weaving on all socials. You can go check it out there.
Yes.
You can book a session with Steph right now.
Book a session right now.
Yeah, if you go to our website, there's a link there where you can click and book a session with Steph and get some Prism Light Weaving experience yourself. Is there anything else that you want to share about it before we wrap up? I mean, first and foremost, it's a beautiful story. I'm really, really grateful that we did this. Like, I had this idea the other day where it was like, oh, it would be fun to kind of like really explore and get into it some more. And just, I wanted to hear more of all of this stuff. Like I said, because I've been here with you along the way, right? I've got this experience and watched this unfold and watched you navigate this over the years and everything. But it's been really cool to sit with you over the last little bit right now and just hear it all at the same time and hear the parts of it that I didn't really have a full understanding of how it all played out. And I mean, it's just amazing. It's so cool. It's so neat to be a part of and get to witness and watch you go through it. Yeah, I think it's super awesome. I'm excited.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Until next time.
Right. Thank you, everybody. Go check out Prism Light Weaving. Like we said, we share it all the time in some of our stories and things like that. Yeah, last year we launched the Steph Craig show. We've been obviously together for 13 years and doing all sorts of different fun things together. But this year, 2025, is really a year of growth for both of us. Steph is stepping out into that space with everything that she just got done talking about. I'm coaching people. If you're interested in coaching, there's a bunch of other things that we're kind of working on, continually evolving and growing. And it's really fun to be able to share all with you guys through the podcast and through our socials and everything like that. So thank you very much. Thank you very much for everybody for all the love that you give us and all the support that you give us. As always, let's just wrap up, baby.
Let's wrap up.
Plan the best.
Expect the best.
Plan for the greatest. We'll see everybody next time.
We got a wild ride. Wait and see, you and me. We were meant to be.
Thanks for tuning into the episode. If you haven't yet, please take a moment and subscribe, rate, review, and share this episode with somebody. There's new episodes of the Steph Craig Show every week. And if you enjoyed this one, be sure to check out some of these clips as well. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you all on the next episode.